Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning bilingual podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. Sí, Please Me se puede ver con subtítulos en español. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sexual education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. If you missed last week's powerful two-part series, it's a must-listen. I sat down with Carolee and Britton Beckham to explore how infidelity, betrayal, and emotional pain can spark deep transformation in a committed relationship. From their conservative Mormon roots in Utah to a global journey of healing, self-discovery, and sex magic, their story is one of resilience, growth, and deep intimacy. Huge thanks to everyone leaving reviews. Please Me continues to rank in the top 10 global sexuality podcasts. Your support means everything. Keep the love coming by rating the show and join us on Patreon for ad-free episodes, bonus content, and early access. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
I'm like, speak to Peach. What is she saying? And it's a very interesting combination of allowing all the voices to come through. And so embodiment became a big practice for me as well. After doing all the energy work, people are spinning in such an incredible way, releasing their attachments and transcending limitations and breaking through patterns because of some of the energy work that I do.
ASN Lifestyle Magazine is your go-to source for sex-positive, sophisticated content covering everything from the swinger lifestyle and adult entertainment to intimacy, wellness, and more. You can read every digital issue for free, and subscribers get access to exclusive content. See the show notes for the link to subscribe and check out their Instagram. I'm excited to share that I now have a monthly column in ASN called Big Clit Energy, a Please Me series. Don't miss it and subscribe today.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Got a car to sell but no time to waste? Hop on to Carvana.com to get a real offer for your car in seconds. All you have to do is enter your license plate, answer a few quick questions, and if you accept the offer, Carvana will pay you as soon as you hand the keys over. They even offer same-day pickup in many cities. Save your time, score some cash, and sell your car the convenient way to
Carvana.
Pickup times vary. Fees may apply.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Hello and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I am so excited to welcome Hani Cheng to the show. She is an international transformational coach and author. And one of the books, she's written many, but one of the books she's written is You Only Live Once. She is also a tantra and Taoist sexual energy course creator and dancer. And she, in the past, has suffered from bulimia and a disconnection from her sensual, authentic self, and has had her own transformation that has really helped her to create all of the incredible work that she's done. So I just want to welcome you to the show, Hani. Thank you so much for being here today. And I would love to know how your own personal transformation began.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. My personal transformation in sexuality or in everything?
You don't have to give all of the details, but I would love to know how the bulimia tied into your disconnection with your body and how that was transformed to what you're doing now. And I know it's a very long story, but
I had a really random or this unusual type of bulimia. So I was throwing up 10 times a day. It wasn't on purpose. So it was a gut / intestinal digestive reaction to what I later on found out as anxiety or stress, but existential. So it took me like 15 years to actually go through all the doctors, psychiatrists, experts, and specialists to figure that out. And so that was a long journey. And I did it all in secret because I was quite ashamed of it because I didn't want people to think that I was self-inflicting issues. And what I realized was that my body was actually telling me that the career that I was in was not actually the direction that I really desired. I had a beautiful marketing career in Ogilvy, one of the name brand advertising agencies at that time. And I was really grateful for the opportunities that I got in such a young age. It's such a prestigious place, yet inside I was feeling quite empty and not feeling like I was really expressing myself fully. Didn't really feel like I was expressing my intellect fully, my potential fully. And I think that the 15 years of like problem solving really allowed me to learn like 33 and more modalities to self-heal. And it went from anywhere from linguistics, psychosomatics, all the way through to dance and energy work, shamanic healing, and also deep transformational energy work to decouple a lot of different functions in our system. So I think that led me to realize that my body is actually a big part of my decision making on what kind of life I want to live. I couldn't just walk around with a brain and a CV. I needed to also include my body along the way. And in the process of learning about energy work and healing, I started to decide to want to leave the corporate world and start doing this as a passion because I realized that it was actually energy work and a question in a moment of meditation and breath work that took me and snapped me out. And it was like in one decision of, am I ready to let this disease go? A voice came out of me, said yes. And I didn't say that voice. It was just a whole body knowing that not only did I not have to continue this, but I also needed to leave and to pursue this as a career. And it was like a mission to put that all into that book, You Only Live Once, and then travel around the world to share that. And then in the process of that, I met a bunch of other facilitators, experts. I put myself through business, like a holistic practitioner business school. And there I met a ton of sexologists and pleasure instigators, and they basically just told me, you're meant to do this. The type of questions you're asking, you should learn from my teachers. And I was like, really? I'm like, I'm just curious. And then I saw and I took a bunch of classes like one does with rabbit hole syndrome, I would call that. I love diving into rabbit holes and I'm super excited and interested. And one thing led to another. And like I found out that a woman's potential beyond restriction is phenomenal in terms of pleasure. There was one thing that really stood out to me, which was a class called OIC, the observation of intense coming. It's an advanced, super duper advanced class, meaning that you have to have taken sensual common sense, common sensuality, and a bunch of other classes to be able to have even the skill to maintain experience and not get overstimulated by a 2-hour orgasm. And I didn't see it as a fear or a like what? I saw it more as a wow, this is what is the potential. And what if this is our potential, what is required to be dismantled and let go of to allow myself to even have that experience? Because like, why would I even want to spend 2 hours orgasming, right? I couldn't comprehend that in the beginning. And so I think that in the process of fully embracing and allowing myself to explore my sexuality while I was doing business coaching, healing, advanced energy work, and just like traveling around as a healer, I realized that the more that I connected to my sexuality, the more she is empowered, the more she's able to speak through me. Like sometimes I even ask, it gets to a point where she's so embodied that you can even ask her to speak through you. So it's decision making. Ask my brain what brain wants, what heart wants, what gut wants. And then I'm like, okay, what does my peach want? And sometimes directly she will speak to me. Sometimes people want to break up with me and I'm like, speak to Peach. What is she saying? And it's a very interesting combination of allowing all the voices to come through. And so embodiment became a big practice for me as well. After doing all the energy work, people were spinning in such an incredible way, releasing their attachments and transcending limitations and breaking through patterns because of some of the energy work that I do. And then when you're in this space where you're just like neutral and not triggered, then it also requires you to ground yourself again so that you can still enjoy and be practical about the daily life things. And so I use dance and embodiment practices to bring people back in. Anyway, so my transformational journey was really first realizing that everything that pleasured my head and my concept and self-image was not enough. Then was healing myself to realize that my body actually had a mission. Then it was like awakening the body and then sharing my mission through my healing, and then realizing that coming back to the body, embodying dance, and then realizing that sensual energy and sexual energy actually is a core component of my creativity in terms of producing videos, producing books, creating different dynamics in relationship. It's like a core part of my consideration when I set out to do anything at this point in my life. Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes complete sense. Your body was really telling you that you needed to change with the bulimia and the vomiting and all of that. And it was screaming at you, right? And so when you were able to get in touch with what your true authentic self should be doing on this earth in this moment in time, you were able to tap into your creativity, which is our genitalia, that part of our body, that is the creative nature of our being. And so I love that you say that you now ask your peach to give you advice when you're creating. That is the part of your body you need to get in touch with to create. So it's such a beautiful cycle that you've gone through to get to this point where you are fully embodied and able to create and do the things that you were meant to do on this planet in this lifetime. So I love that. And I think it's a beautiful story. And I think it's great for listeners to hear that when you fully tap into what your life's purpose is, things fall into place. And your sexuality and your sensuality is such a key component in that. And I've found that myself with this podcast and with creating a business around healing sexual issues in other people, because I just find that it is my life's purpose. And now I just have so much more enthusiasm and excitement for the things that I am doing now and creating. So I can relate to your story so much as well. I want to talk about your sensual liberation program that you developed. You talked about traveling around the world and teaching the things that you have learned. I'd love to know a little bit more about that specific program.
Yeah, for sure. So I love that you're asking that. It's a 6-module program, and it basically takes you through the journey of liberating your sensuality all the way from the skin, right? So the first portion of it is discovering what is your erotic flow? What kind of touch do you like? How do you touch beyond the skin into someone's heart? How do you touch yourself in that way? Are you geared towards mystery touch or mysterious taboo touch, or are you geared towards sensual or energetic? Or so there's a lot of different archetypes. We go through all the different breath works as well. So the first portion is really about understanding how breath and your body work. It comes with a Taoist and tantric perspective. The second portion is the energy work portion, which is so key, which is what I was sharing with you earlier. Like I've done like almost so many different types of energy work, and I put together this is a combination of all the energy work that I've done, but on a meta level. So imagine if there were triggers that were held together by tentacles, that are groups of triggers that are held together by structures and structures above that and structures above that. We're really taking out the entire upstream components of all of these things that block either your pleasure, block your creativity, block your flow, like your essence, right? When you're moving, when you're dancing, when you're talking, like how comfortable are you in your body? That's what we mean by sensual liberation. You're liberated because your penis or vagina is connected to your heart, which is connected to your throat, which is connected to your brain, and you're able to share that with someone when you want to. So that's really about energetic clearing and clearing it on every level of your psychology, your body, and your system. That's two. The third one is like communication. When we're in love or when we're in relationship or when we're in like this beautiful setting where you found someone you want to explore with and play with, what do you do before sex and during it and after it? It matters so much. You can create pleasure in every step of the way and also clarity. And then multidimensional intimacy comes through that, right? Whether that's emotional intimacy, physical, intellectual, or even energetic and spiritual intimacy. And so discussing that and different frameworks of that. And then also during arousal, how to experience touch in a way that is where some people call it, it's just, there's so many more things I want to tell you, but how you can experience touch in a way that you're supporting someone's peaking experience. If you're training for non-ejaculatory orgasm, if you're training for multiple orgasm, like how do you discuss that in a way that you're able to prolong the state of heightened arousal and love, and then communicate in that space about your heart and how important that person is for you and all those beautiful things. We also include NBC for conflict resolution. I have something called a different system as well. Like every time trust is broken or something is in the air, or resentment suddenly shows up or something shuts down, like how do you navigate that? So that's communication. And then we have pleasure expansion, which is all about all the dimensions of pleasure. How can they grow? And so on and so forth. And my favorite part of all is the debrief in communication module, which is about like how do you then milk the beauty of a session that you just had so that you can be turned on for the rest of the week with it with your partner. And we also go through sex magic module 6, which is all about then carrying this beautiful energy with you and then bringing that home to the chaos of your house or the chaos of your life, or maybe it's already very peaceful, but let's say you have like little kids running around, and how can you bring this energy of liberation and peace and beauty into your presence as a leader of your household or your work? And then in the beginning of my career, we talked a lot about also orgasm and abundance, where we actually measured people's sales rate when they gave themselves more self-pleasure and how that lubricated the attitude and the positivity in their voice and their self-image, and then in turn sales. And so that's another way to look at how you can infuse that energy into your work. So that's more sex magic. And then module 5 is really about setting up the whole ritual. So Tantra has a ritual, Taoism has a ritual. And how do you create an area where you're taking care of every sense, every potential nook that you can love someone more? And how do you make that into something that is non-goal oriented, for example, so that you can just relax and not feel pressured when you're like, hey, we're going to have a session this Saturday and it's just going to be 2 hours. And then you don't know that you're always going to have a good time no matter what happens. Like, how do you create that? So that's a whole little menu. What's the appetizer? What's the mid? What's the end?
I love that. It sounds extremely comprehensive. You brought up many different things But communication was such a big part of that, and sharing that with others, even sharing it in your work so that you can use orgasm to be more productive in your work, which I think is fascinating. And I can see how that could directly correlate, because if you are experiencing orgasms on a regular basis and you're enjoying your body, it's going to help you to just be more alert and ready and focused on other aspects of your life, in your business, etc. So I love that so much. And you've mentioned dance a couple times, and I personally I consider myself a dancer, even though as a child I didn't study dance. As an adult, I studied dance for many years in New York City. I studied all sorts of dance, including Indian temple dancing, African dance, samba, and all sorts of different like international dances. I would love to know how you use dance to create or connect with your body. Are you still using that as a modality?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I shared earlier, I started dance very late in my life as an adult, only 3 to 4 years ago. I think even shorter than that. During COVID, it was my COVID hobby. And I went all in because I knew that the energy work that I was doing was I ran a program called Unplugging from the Matrix. It's anything that's holding us down and not really freeing ourselves. It was the idea of like beyond limitation. And when we did that, the spiritual aspect was spinning so much, and there was so much energy that needed to be grounded, and dance was a very grounding modality to be inside in this world here and not floating around in galactic cosmic world. And so dance right now, I'm absolutely passionate about this dance called Brazilian Zouk, which has, I don't know if you've done
I
partner
do know Zouk.
dancing.
Yes.
There's a big
Yes.
community in Florida.
I know.
Yeah, and so it's a huge passion of mine, and it is Zouk, the dance itself is connection based as well as technical. So it stimulates your mind for the technical perspective, and then which is very, highly, there's the huge learning curve. You stagnate a little bit, and then there's a huge learning curve again, which is super fun. And then it's also using connection as a way to transmit information back and forth with your partner, which a lot of partner dances are, but Zouk, I think, has a little bit more areas and more movements that you can do that with. And how does that play into my life? Is that what your question was?
Yeah. How does it play into your sensual life? To me, dance, especially something like Zouk, right, where it's a partnered dance. And so you are communicating through body language, through a lead. The lead is helping you to move through these different movements. It's a communication, but on a physical level. So I think that this is a perfect tie-in to sensuality and sexuality, because there's,
I think like in the beginning, yeah, it definitely helped me connect with my sensuality and the comfort of my body. And then once you hit that milestone, after a while, it starts turning into something else. I feel like right now, Zouk in my life is really a emotional processing like it's a processing tool. So whatever I'm feeling during the day, even if I've already dealt with it and I've emotionally processed, it still allows me to ground back into the present moment. It allows me to get out of my head and into my body, and that creates more awareness and presence, which at the end of the day, sensuality is really just equals to presence, right? Whatever is present, and how much presence can you bring into your body. And then being able to sense, like in order for you to sense everything that's happening, which is sensuality, you got to be present. Right now in my journey in Zouk, I'm leading a lot more, or like because a lot of the classes have way more followers. And I'm just like, all right, then I will just do the lead portion. And what it's helping me do, it's helping me understand flow as the container of flow. Whereas in the past, I've always leaned into a container to allow me to express myself. So this shows me the other aspect of body movement and sensuality, which is like co-creation, but also direction and specificity and precision. And so I feel like it's allowing me to explore other aspects of my sensuality. And when I'm looking at that, I'm not looking at these concepts from a perspective of just words. It's really about exploring how that expresses through your body. And so for me, sensuality is a combination of enjoying my body, but then also creating the container for somebody else to enjoy their body, getting that feedback, and then seeing like what else wants to be created through us, right? And so I feel like that lends really well into the way that we look at sexuality and intimacy itself. You're not looking to create a certain scene. Maybe you are if you're into like BDSM and you're planning a scene and you're doing that kink scene. However, in an authentic, co-creative way, there's always an element of spontaneity. And that spontaneity can always only happen if you step out of yourself, they step out of themselves, and you're really honoring it to the connection that's happening and both sensual beings that is out of your head, right? And then you're honoring these interchanging dynamic of these sensual beings and physical bodies, and then you're taking a step back to support the orchestration of their wanting to come together, right? And so a lot of it is unplanned. You cannot force things. You're really just supporting the growth of this union in different directions, and you're dancing with it. So I feel like dance has a lot to do with that, and it's a beautiful place to do it in a non-erotic way, because you're really there to hold the space of exploring this connection with the pure goal of expressing creativity together and playing with each other's bodies with no other ulterior motive. At the purest sense of a partner dance, you're just experiencing life together as it is.
I love partner dancing. I'm a big salsa mambo fan, and I love bachata as well, but salsa and mambo much more. And so I have tried Zouk. I have to say that I'm definitely more of a follower than a leader. I've never really tried to do the lead, and I feel like it could tie in even with learning more about yourself and your sensuality as well, because if you think about like submission and dominance, right? And when you're in that role of following, you really are submitting to the partner that's leading and allowing them to move you and trusting that they are going to move you in a way that you aren't going to get hurt, that you're going to look your best and you're going to enjoy the dance. And then when you're learning the lead portion of that, that can really translate to you just being more dominant and like using that part of your brain more, where you are creating and helping someone else to flow through space. And so I love that you're learning the lead as well. I have never done that before. I would love to jump into that space as well, because I do think it would help me in a lot of other ways too. So dance is just such a beautiful modality that you can really use to get in touch with your body. And like you said, be present in your body. I want to talk about
more grounded as well.
Yes.
Learning how to ground yourself, because just like in intimacy, if you don't feel grounded and you're not in there and your mind is wandering, it also doesn't quite work. You get imbalanced.
Right.
Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like with the road trippers we see here in their natural habitat, the breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. Here's a dad teaching his son how to make waffles. Fluffy, golden waffles. There's a mom making sure her daughter eats some fruit to avoid the "I'm hungry" from the back seat. And a sibling standoff over the last muffin. This is the cycle of vacation maximizationing in all its glory. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Honey Bunches of Oats es la forma perfecta de empezar el día con tu familia. Con hojuelas crujientes y miel de verdad que a los niños les encanta. Además, deliciosos trozos de granola, nueces y fruta que todos van a disfrutar. Honey Bunches of Oats es para todos. Toca el banner para saber más.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Yes, you have to be in the moment to fully enjoy pleasure. And I've talked about this a lot in the past, where oftentimes if you are a survivor of like sexual assault or sexual abuse, oftentimes you will have that wandering mind and you will be thinking about oftentimes the abuse itself or just having flashbacks, etc. And so really grounding and being in the present is so important when you are trying to really fully enjoy sex and your sensual self. And so it is a great tool to get into your body and to get centered and to get present.
I was going to say, to bring a point back from earlier on today, is when you do experience that your mind is wandering because of a trauma, or your mind is wandering because there's just vigilance going on, a lot of it, I've had so many men come through with like performance anxiety, erectile dysfunction, and women come through telling me that they've been assaulted before and like they've had terrible things happened. And at these points, it is the coolest thing is that your genitals can speak to you. We talked about this, right? I asked my PhD, decision-making process. I've healed not me, but like in my sessions, we've healed so many relationships with bodies through speaking directly to clients' genitals and asking, how did you feel during that moment? Were there things that you needed to say? What is needed to be done to support you? And we're talking directly to the body part. And sometimes that is, people look at me and they're like, I've never talked to myself like this before. a guy is just, I was like, so what does he want? Because it's like something that happened when he was 5 with a family member, and then he just wants to know this and this, and then the vulnerability comes, and then the 5-year-old comes through that, and you're just like, oh my gosh, and he's just, and it feels so much better, and then the next session and the next thing, and the pain is gone, and the performance thing is subsided, and you're just like, wow, really? It's that simple sometimes. Sometimes it's about connecting with yourself, and whatever angle and whatever body part you need to go in there, it's beautiful. So I do want to encourage the inclusion of connecting with yourself. Yes, through the brain and through talk, but also through your body, right? We talked about the dance. Give voice to different parts of yourself physically.
I love this example that you said with a man talking to his genitals, and hey, suddenly they have a lot to say, and
I'm not doing any of the talking. I'm just like, so what's the next thing he wants? It's really just listing questions.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And when you allow yourself to really get in touch with that part of your body, because so much of our society suppresses that voice in us, right? And so when you allow yourself to throw all of that like societal programming out the window, and you allow yourself to really get in touch with that sensual aspect of yourself, your body really has so much to say. And I know that for me, I just actually recently did an ayahuasca journey, and the point was for me to really heal my womb. And I had spoken to another guest on my show, and she had talked about a voice being trapped in her womb. And when she did womb healing, it came out, and it was like a voice from an abuser in her past. And she was able to release that energy, right? And heal from that. And so my focus was really on womb healing. And what an amazing journey I had. I'm going to be doing an episode about it, but I just want to mention that I was able to like hold my inner child, and she was actually able to hear me for the first time and really feel in her heart that she was perfect exactly as she was, and she wasn't damaged, and she was exactly as she should be. And you can say words and you can know these things, But when you actually truly feel it internally and in your heart, that's a whole nother level. And I just love this example. And I encourage people to like really try to get in touch with that voice in that part of your body, because it does have a lot to say and it sounds wacky and out there. But if you really give yourself the opportunity to really connect, you can really transform your sensual experience on this earth.
And that's where we'll hit pause for now. This first part of my 2-part series will continue this Friday, so be sure to tune back in to listen to the rest. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it, hit follow or subscribe, and visit pleaseme.online for a wealth of sex-positive educational content on intimacy, pleasure, and sexual wellness. If you're curious about intimacy coaching, sexual health support, or want to explore pleasure-centered living, reach out. I'm here to help. For a free 10-minute consultation, download the OWL app and use code EH576472 to get your questions answered directly. And don't forget to leave a review. It's the best way to help this sex-positive podcast grow. Thanks so much for your support.
For ad-free listening, exclusive bonus episodes, Eve's library of archived webinars, and early access to new releases of Please Me, become a monthly supporter on Patreon. Simply open the Patreon app on your phone, search for Please Me, and subscribe today for premium content and more. Cheers to finding your pleasure and big clit energy.